The original Vauxhall Mokka was one of those models that really confused car journalists because we could never understand why anybody bought it. It wasn't the best car in the class to drive, it wasn't particularly refined, and it wasn't all that practical either. But it did have sharp styling and keen prices, and it sold in spades, 200,000 in the UK and more than 1 million across Europe. So for the new Mokka, Vauxhall has again focused on design and come up with this. And now it's our first chance to find out whether it's any good or not. And this really is a significant new look for the Mokka because it previews a new design direction that pretty much all other Vauxhalls are going to follow. At the front here you get the visor, which is Vauxhall speak for a new grille and headlight treatment. And along the side here there's a natty two-tone contrast roof that helps to give the car a slightly more rakish look than its rather upright predecessor. This Mokka is quite a bit shorter than the car it replaces, by about 12 centimetres in fact, but it's also wider and lower, giving it a more dynamic stance. Crucially though, the wheelbase only grows by 2 millimetres, and that's perhaps a sign that practicality still isn't this car's primary focus. Now Vauxhall can do this of course because it already has a conventional small SUV in its range, the Crossland, that's a bit taller and more practical. What the Mokka is meant to be is a slightly jacked up, more stylish alternative to the Corsa and the Astra. We could call it a crossover if you like, for people who want something that's flashier than a Super Mini but who don't need the out-and-out space of a full-sized family hatchback. That's reflected inside, where the fascia is dominated by this huge twin display layout, either 7-inch and 7-inch, or, like on this car, 12-inch and 10-inch. There are conventional heating controls though, so the touchscreen technology is being used in the right places, not the wrong ones. This is an SRI car, so you get this red sporty highlight and some carbon fibre effect up here as well, but you don't have to look too far to see the usual Stellantis mix of quite hard textured finishes and of course that piano black lacquer. It's trying really hard to look premium I guess, but I'm not entirely sure that it pulls it off. There's no such frippery in the back here, but then that's probably just as well because this isn't a place we'd recommend you spend any serious amount of time. Now I'm just over 6 feet tall and admittedly almost as wide as that, but while the headroom's pretty decent, I'm just not that comfortable sitting behind myself here. Let's just say the Mokka's a car that's best suited to couples or maybe young families with a very small child, but there's just not enough space in here for us to say that it can cope with 4 adults on a regular basis. The boot capacity, meanwhile, is 350 litres. That's respectable enough, but it's totally trumped by the Renault Captur, which also has a sliding rear bench that allows you to prioritise passenger space over the load bay. Again, if you tell your friendly Vauxhall rep that practicality is your priority, they'll gently nudge you in the direction of the Crossland. The Mokka is based on the same CMP platform that also supports the Vauxhall Corsa, the Peugeot 208 and the new Citroën C4. That means that Vauxhall can offer this car with a choice of petrol, diesel or pure electric. Today we're driving the petrol version, which is expected to make up around 3/4 of sales. It's a 1.2 litre 3-cylinder engine producing 99 brake horsepower or, as in this car, 128 brake horsepower. The diesel option, that's a 1.5 litre motor producing 99 brake horsepower, and of course there's the 134 horsepower all-electric Mokka E, which can manage around 200 miles on a single charge. SRI trim is the sportiest version of the new Mokka, so along with those red flashes in the interior, you also get 18-inch alloy wheels. But it also comes with more useful equipment such as heated seats, automatic wipers, a reversing camera and rear parking sensors. This high-powered petrol engine seems happy enough to cope with a car of the Mokka's size without ever actually feeling rapid. The 8-speed automatic gearbox is very smooth shifting though, certainly better at low speeds than any of the dual-clutch automatics you get in Volkswagen Group cars. If you want to get a move on though, you do have to rev the engine to the point where you will hear a bit of 3-cylinder grumble. That's a real shame though, because for the most part and at a relaxed cruise, it's really quiet, easily drowned out by road roar from those 18-inch alloys. Around town, the CMP chassis is able to cope with bumps and potholes pretty well, even on the larger wheels. But when you get up to higher speeds, the increased frequency of inputs can catch it out a bit, so the car tends to shimmy a bit over badly scarred surfaces. What you won't find here is any real sense of involvement. The steering is consistently weighted and faithful enough, but it's pretty light and doesn't really tell you what the front wheels are doing at all. Body control is decent for a car of this type, I suppose, but if you do try to really chuck the Mokka around on a twisty road, the nose will wash out into understeer pretty quickly. Look at it this way, it's nowhere near living up to the sporty image that should come with the SRI badge, so I'd be tempted to look for Elite Nav instead, which brings a smaller wheel size and might be even more comfortable. It may have a bold look, but the new Mokka keeps much of what made the original such a curiously popular choice. It's not as good as the likes of the Ford Puma on the road, the rear cabin is pretty cramped, and it doesn't even look that cheap, on list price at least. But what you do have here is a sharply styled small crossover with a decent range of efficient powertrains, including, of course, that all-electric version. So as long as Vauxhall's sales staff remain keen to do monthly finance deals, the Mokka success story should continue.